who is the NLP engineer at FullFact. So you've heard a bit about what FullFact does more broadly, and David's going to talk to you very specifically about our automated fact-checking work and one facet of that. It's rare that you get this many great fact-checkers at a conference, by the way, so please make the most use of it and ask them questions in the break. Thank you very much.
Right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to this wonderful conference. And thank you for the fact-checkers for the last panel. That was amazing insights. As Meeman said, I'm a data scientist, NLP engineer at FullFact. And I'm going to talk a bit more about the process and how we're trying to use AI to automate some of this process. Some of this is information you've just been hearing from the panel. I think the main problem we're trying to address really is that people keep saying things. Because that's what people do, and most of these things are fine, most of these things are probably correct, but some of the claims people make get repeated in newspapers and on TV, and some of these things can cause harm. They can undermine democracy, as Will was saying, they can encourage people to disengage from democracy entirely. There can be economic harm and even risk to life in terms of both sort of radicalisation towards terrorism or towards sort of vaccine doubts. And so the job of the fact-checker, at least in part, is to try to identify those claims and counter them with better information. One problem, of course, is that it can take a long time to check these claims. I think at FullFact, it takes on average about a day to check a claim. So if a false claim is made overnight or first in the morning, maybe we can publish our corrections by the end of the day. For more complex claims, it can take longer than that. And there are, by my rough estimate, something like 50,000 claims made in the UK every day. That's just in Parliament, TV news shows, newspapers. If you're on social media, your guess is as good as mine, but there's probably a million or more claims made every day of some kind. So there's a huge task, and we can't possibly tackle every possible claim. So the question is, how can automation help, really, with trying to improve the process? One complexity is that, although some claims are just wrong, sometimes someone quotes the wrong number, or very quotes out-of-date figures. But much more often, what happens in FullFact's experience is that people make claims which are technically correct, but very misleading. Often this is because of lack of context. So one recent example was about the uptake of solar panels. It was claimed that between March and April this year, because of a change of government policy, the number of solar panels being fitted in the UK dropped by more than 90%. Now, the figures actually were correct. Yes, numbers did go down, but it goes down every year between March and April because the end of the financial year means everyone rushes to do their jobs in March, and April no one starts putting new solar panels until later in the year. So the figures were correct, but without the context, you get the totally wrong impression. Fact-checking takes a long time because it is laborious, it is labour-intensive work. Our fact-checkers often talk to experts, they're phoning up civil servants or academics or other experts to check things. They're going right back to the original source of facts rather than just relying on hearsay, even from trusted journalists. They go back to the original data to make sure it's actually correct. And also, they spend some time making sure the messages are communicated clearly outside of the organisation. So we're publishing the checks. There's no point in doing that if no one's going to read them. So we're going to make them interesting and clear. And this all takes time. And it's all very hard to automate. And therefore, of course, we're not trying to replace fact-checkers with AI or any other tool. It'd just be impossible. I'm a big fan of AI. I've been looking at AI for about 20 years now, and we're nowhere near being able to replace people with machines, of course. One of the issues is that the most sort of, I guess, explicit form of fact-checking is to determine automatically whether a claim is true or false. I've looked at this, Will mentioned earlier, the robo-checking project at FullFact, and it's basically really, really hard to do, turns out. There are some cases where someone makes a very explicit claim, you can verify it, check it against some known data source. Most of the time, you can't even begin to do this. But also, as I said, it's not really the main problem, or it's not the only problem, because often what you need to do is actually add context. It's not just saying true or false, yes or no, it's saying, here's the full story, which is much harder, therefore, to automate. So what we're trying to do in the automated fact-checking team at FullFact is to create tools, software, including AI, to support fact-checkers in their work, help them do their job a little bit faster, a little bit more easily. One of the main things is helping them to choose what to check next. As I was saying, if there are, let's say in the UK, 50,000 claims being made every day, you can only check one per person. That's, you can't check many of them as a percentage. So it's very important, therefore, to check the right one, whatever that means. I'm also fortunate to work alongside some excellent fact-checkers, much like the people on the panel just now. And when we ask them what do they actually want, every day they want to know what is the most important fact to be checked that day, the most important claim that's come up. Again, important is hard to define, but that's part of their job as a fact checker, is to decide, is it going to have an impact on people? Is it going to cause any harm to people? Number two there is to know when somebody is repeating a claim that we've already checked and already know to be false or misleading as quickly as possible. And finally, to check things as close to real time as possible. Checking a claim from a week ago, it's not really going to help anybody, because by then any damage will have been done. And so we have tools, some very well used at full fact, some we're still developing as prototypes. The live and trends work basically monitors text during televised debates, for example, and parliamentary debates, and helps highlight to fact checkers internally when somebody is repeating something that we know to be false. And the trends tool looks at over published media and says, if someone repeats these claims, when's it happening? I'm going to spend most of my talk, though, talking about the candidates tool on the left there, which is a tool to help fact checkers decide what to check next. So this claim detection work is part of the Google AI Impact Challenge project. Basically, earlier this year, we were very fortunate to win, very proud to win a large grant from Google. They offer money to help charities and non-profits around the world to use AI to do their work more effectively. I think there are more than 2,000 applicants, and full fact led a consortium, one of only 20 to actually win the grant money. So we're very proud of that. And this basically lets us do about 3 years' worth of research and development to try to build real tools to really help fact checkers, to help them find the most important check each day. So our goal is to help fact checkers make a better choice about what claims to check, make sure they don't miss anything important, to provide broader coverage of different media sources, again, so we can scale up the media we're monitoring, and also to overall speed up the process of going from a claim being made to it being checked by our team. So I've talked about claims quite a lot, but it's worth trying to work out, we spent some time trying to work out what we actually mean by a claim. So if you look at past work on sort of claim detection, or speak to fact checkers, what they often try to say is that claims are statements which are important, which have an impact on life, which may have, do harm to people if it's wrong, and which are interesting. The problem with those kind of features is that they tend to be quite subjective. They vary across different organisations, across time. It depends who says something, so the speaker is very important as well. And these things are all quite things that make it extra challenging, I guess, for AI or for computers to solve. So instead we strip things back and just said, well, a claim, we define it as simply being a statement about the world that is either true or false. So it doesn't matter whether it's important or trivial, it could be obviously false, doesn't matter, it's still a statement about the world that is true or false. And so that's our definition of what a claim is. And so the idea is to sort of find all the claims we can find using AI and present those to the fact checkers in such a way that they can then decide for themselves which ones are most important, interesting, and impactful to check today. So for this project, we spent some time doing data gathering, as often is the first stage for sort of AI projects. So we developed a simple annotation tool. I might as well show you the tool. This is, you probably can't see it from the back, but basically this shows you, it shows the annotator, one sentence shown there in bold on the right, with a bit of context around it. And then on the other side of the screen, there's a list of all the different types of claim that we defined. We spent some time discussing how many different types of claim there are, what types would be useful to actually measure. And we came up with this list of 10 categories of claim. So these are things like, is the claim a claim about someone's personal experience? Is it I believe this or I did this? Is it a quantity, some sort of statistical, numerical claim about the world? Is it a prediction about the future? May or may not be checkable, but it's still definitely a claim. Or, of course, is it not a claim at all? And so the annotators can just go through this, look at a sentence, select one or more of these labels, because often sentences belong to more than one type of claim. It could be a prediction, which is also a quantity, and also personal experience. I believe I've got 5 minutes left. And they can mark those up, and we collect this data. We end up with, within the full fact team, we end up with about 12,000 annotations which took, I think from memory, about 60 person-hours to generate. So it's a big commitment from us. My colleagues, really, and thank you again for those who are in the audience. For those who know much about NLP in the last year or so, you'll know what BERT is. For those who don't, it is a model that Google Research released about a year ago now. And essentially, it's a massive neural network that's been trained on millions and millions of sentences in multiple languages. And so it has this kind of, you can just download it for free, and it has this kind of intrinsic knowledge about language. It knows what words tend to go together. It knows how sentences tend to go one after the other. But it knows nothing about claims, nothing about truth or fiction or anything else. But you can take this model, download it, and fine-tune it to do a little bit more training with your own data to make it solve your particular task. So we did this over the summer and trained it on these 12,000 annotations, teaching it to recognize claims and to categorize those claims. And we then basically convert the predictions into simple sort of flags, saying, is this sentence, so for a new sentence, we can say, which one of those types of claims is it? And for those like figures, includes me, the accuracy varied a lot between different classes. Basically, some types of claim we had very few examples, and the system didn't work so well, but on several of the more popular types of claim, we're getting over 90% accuracy, which is very, very satisfying. And the F1 score, for those who care, which is a combination of precision and recall, gives an indication of basically how well it finds the information it's trying to find and how precisely it does that, is 0.61. In isolation, that doesn't mean very much, but I will come back to that figure in a moment. And this is the prototype of the tool that we'll be showing to our own fact-checkers. It'll go live internally in the next few weeks, and be shared more widely beyond that. Basically, you can see links through to stories, and for each claim, it shows on the right-hand side the list of all the types that the BERT model has predicted this claim belongs to. And so the users can filter them. In this case, it's showing claims which are of type quantity. So all these claims contain some kind of quantity, percentage of meat in Japan, which is whale meat, tax allowances, tax spending, and so on. So it'll help the fact-checkers heavily focus in on the claims they actually want to check. As we're hearing from the panel just now, Full Fact is a small charity, but we are quite well-resourced and in a very fortunate position in many ways. And so we want to also use our technology, our influence, to try to help fact-checkers around the world. And so one question is, as you develop this technology, it's great using these kind of cool tools from Google and extend them to help us, but can we use those tools to help other people in less well-resourced organizations? And so, as part of the Google AI Impact Challenge project, we're working closely with AfricaCheck and Checkiado, as you heard, based in Southern Africa and in Argentina. And using the same annotation tool, we asked our colleagues there to also create annotations. And particularly noticed that in Argentina, they don't speak English, I learned. They speak Spanish. And so we end up with 5,000 Spanish sentences tagged as well. So then we put these into BERT, and the question is, can we then build a model which works well across different languages? So this again shows the F1 score, this combination of precision and recall. EN here is a combination of English sentences from both the UK and from Southern Africa. So briefly, if you train a model in English and test it in Spanish, you show it Spanish sentences, it doesn't do very well, not surprisingly. If you train it just in Spanish and then try to see how well it predicts in English, also it fails, you get quite a low F1 score. However, if you train it both English and Spanish together, literally just mixing together the English and Spanish sentences in the training set, it actually gets better at both English and Spanish predictions. So in other words, in this case, a bilingual model performs better on both individual languages than a monolingual model does, which is very reassuring and to me slightly magical. But the hope is that probably hopefully early next year we can work with other languages and introduce a third, fourth, fifth language. With relatively few annotations through the annotation tool, we can make this work basically make it available to other countries. I'm aware, particularly from the comments from Lee, that merely adding the tools into different language, merely adding languages into the tool isn't enough. We also need to recognise different cultures, different ways of spreading information. But this is at least a start. Having discovered claims and categorised them, we're also looking at the next few months at things like clustering related claims and counterclaims to get sort of a dialogue going within the tool, looking at topic and speaker identification, trying to build in robo-checking into this as well. So to conclude, I believe that humans will always be at the centre of fact-checking. I think there's no way to automate the whole process. But there are parts of their work which we can speed up and assist through AI. We help them find claims more easily by monitoring more sources and surfacing the more reported ones. We help find related claims and link directly to other sources. So our tools hopefully will speed up the process. Couple of brief adverts. We are hiring. If you're a data scientist and you're interested in this kind of work, do come and grab me for coffee afterwards. We are a charity. Please give us money. It's always nice. And thank you for listening.
We have time for one question. It would be ideal if there were none, which it seems like there is. Great. So just grab David afterwards to get that job. Thanks.